Hello there, and welcome to a brand new series of Mark and Zac, the Outsiders. This is series 3, and during this series, we're going to go on a journey. We're going to explore storytelling using the hero's journey. Now, I'm Zac, obviously, of the Mark and Zac, the other half of it, and I'm here with Mark, as ever. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Zac. I'm
Hello.
really excited about this one today.
This is a good one because we're actually live as well. Are we not?
I think so. Testing the
That's,
pulse.
yes, we're live, and we're also all our usual places as well. So don't worry about that, my dear listeners. So welcome to you all, and especially welcome to those of you who may be new to our little exploration and voyage of discovery. We especially welcome you to us, and also thank you to our loyal listeners out there who continue with us. And welcome to a new era, a new dawning, series 3, the hero's journey. So we're going on a path of discovery, and the objective of this series is for us to take you on a journey to discover your own story and sort of find out who you are. And we will not only be using the 17 stages of Joseph Campbell, he was famous for the hero with 1,000 faces, but we're also going to be using our own, because Mark, you used it for one of your projects, which we'll discuss in a minute, and I used it also for one of mine, and there are lots of different versions of such a thing. But let's start with a simple question, shall we? And let's hand over to Mark, because I feel like I've been speaking now for 2 minutes. The hero's journey, Mark. What is it? It's a good question, isn't it?
Starter for 10. What is it?
What is it?
Well, it's a framework. It's a structure that has been used for, well, since Joseph Campbell created this in the 60s, I think, or 50s or 60s, as a framework or a structure to tell stories. In fact, there's not many stories now that aren't using that kind of a structure to tell those stories. For me, it was unknown. I was really unaware of it. It's incredible how when you dive into a project, you suddenly learn a whole lot of new things. For me, I was organically working on a course, the letter, my course about self-discovery and transformation, based around life choices, life direction. And I started to create this course, and I hadn't really got a framework. I was just creating the content. And lo and behold, through doing some research and looking around, I stumbled on the hero's journey. And given the fact that my whole concept is built around what I call the inner hero, finding our true identity, I was like so excited. I couldn't, I was in a state of excitement and flow for a huge chunk of time. So I started to use this as my framework for the course. And that's how I came across the hero's journey.
That's very interesting. Yeah, no, absolutely. It interestingly, I came across the hero's or the book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, way back. I can't remember how exactly, but I bought the book, and it's quite a tome of a book. Lots of information, which for a 20-something, as I was then, was too much for my small brain to take in. But I knew of it because of my love of stories like Star Wars. And then through that, I discovered that it was also the framework for Lord of the Rings. It was obviously used for Harry Potter then, and you can see it in lots of different stories, because it's based on the old mythological stories of Perseus and the Achilles and all that. They go through this journey of discovery, because it's a human thing, isn't it? It's this journey of emotion, and going through certain things in life. So that's how I stumbled across it. And then I saw the book in a bookshop and bought it, thinking that I would read it. And I'm ashamed to say I never read it. And it gave it to a charity shop when my life collapsed into a bit of a heap. And haven't sorted out since, but I've always known of it, but known snippets of it. So that's sort of answered the other question, how we both discovered it, hasn't it? So we're kind of using it in various ways because it's a template for life in a way.
Well, yes, because life is a journey and there are ups and downs and sideward moves. And this basically takes into account all of the different steps that we go through. Ultimately, I think the one that a lot of people miss, because we are forever trapped in our comfort zone, what I call the comfort zone, where we really like to hide out, is where the challenge is laid down. And, you know, as James Bond has often, or is it in Mission Impossible, the challenge is laid down.
Oh, yeah.
And the protagonist has to, you know, take it on. But for us, a lot of us, we tend to avoid it, swerve it, put it off. So this particular framework gives you the context, the background, you know, takes you along a path, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, boom, there is the challenge, and we have to rise up to accept it and take it on. So that's probably the big difference.
It's a useful framework if you're faced with any challenges in life, if you have decisions that you need to make, or something, or there's something that you want to do and you're not sure how to go about doing it. It's quite a useful framework to have because it does take you on that journey. You face not only the highs that you get, but also the pitfalls. And we will be going through each stage, won't we, during this series?
Well, I was going to jump in there. I think this is why we decided to take this on as our next focus for the program, for the podcast series, is because there are different segments that you know you go through, sequential to the stage that you're at. But I think fundamentally, what we're going to focus on today is the idea of the ordinary world versus the special world. And I think this will give the listener and the viewer, and wherever you happen to be, the background as to where we're going with this, because these are two very separate spaces.
Indeed.
If we start with the ordinary world, Zac,
yes,
what does that mean to you?
The ordinary world is the sort of, for me, it's the conscious world, it's the reality, it's the picture we're painted of how we should be doing things, the rules that we have to follow, because we've always been told that that's the way it is. I mean, how many times, well, I've heard it many times, people saying, if you complain about something, if you question something in your family or in the job you're in, usually an answer is, well, it's always been like that, so we can't change it. Which kind of feels, to me, it's a bit defeatist. Maybe that's because I am a minor rebel. I am an outsider. I challenge these sorts of things, and when my challenge isn't met with a positive, even if I'm proved wrong, I don't mind. But if my challenge isn't met, if it's just dismissed and brushed under the carpet, then that's when I lose heart and lose will and decide to disappear from the ordinary world. I find that I find a lot of reality, a lot of what we accept as the norm can be questioned. Because I think, especially as the world we're living in now, certainly in the Western world, it's pretty chaotic and mad. And there doesn't seem to be much structure holding it together. It seems to be falling apart at the seams. That's my view anyway. Maybe different for other people, but that's how I see it. And I like questioning that. And I think any time you want to question something doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it, but it does mean that there might be things that you could tweak. But we tend to get on the defensive. That's the reality I face. What about yourself, Mark?
Well, the ordinary world, if there was such a thing, because the world we're living in right now is far from it, um, does constitute that sort of standard that we're all, brought up to understand and accept, or rejoice in, or whatever it is, wherever your perspective is. But the ordinary world has good things. I mean, of course, we're talking about nature.
Yeah.
We're talking about interests, passions, relationships, all sorts of great things that can happen. But we are in a world, I suppose it's referring to a world that is stagnant or is not going anywhere, or we feel like we're going through, the old film Groundhog Day, which I can relate to sometimes. We're going through the same process on a daily basis. And that can be good too. Again, it depends on your perspective. But again, some people really enjoy the fact that there's no change or shift, and people have a routine and they enjoy that, and it's comforting. Some people find it monotonous, some people find it depressing. Everyone's got their own perspective on it. But the ordinary world is the world we're picturing is the world that you have become accustomed to.
Yeah.
And as I say, if you are comfortable, happy, content within that world, then there's not a lot that you probably need or want to change. But for a huge proportion of people, that is not the case. So we're painting a picture of your daily lives. And then we move into this realm, which we call a special world. And Zac, as you're a special person, would you like to expand on your idea of a special world?
Thank you. Yeah, that's very kind of you to say. That's
Special's
lovely.
a good thing.
Special's a good thing, absolutely. The special world is, well, it's your dream, isn't it? It's, for me anyway, it's what you would like your world to be. Now, I agree with you, Mark. There's the beauty of nature. There's the the sky. The night sky is beautiful. The day sky is beautiful, unless it's raining, of course. Then it's grey. There's some, you go around and there's some, and people are beautiful for the majority. People are beautiful. It's having, but it's taking your own reality and where you are, and if there are things you're not happy with, it's changing the things that need changing. And for me, that's about believing in a way forward, and believing in your own strength in order to make those changes. There are many books that offer the advice of visualizing your future, visualizing you having achieved something, and you're setting yourself on a pathway towards getting there. And I do believe that. From my own perspective, acting, I often visualize me having done it, so that I can prove to myself that I'll be able to do it. And usually it works. I haven't fluffed any, well, I've fluffed a few lines from time to time, but your brain kicks in and does something else. And it is that visualization. And I can honestly say, I never believed in all of this years and years ago, but the harm that it's done in my life is that I felt that I wasn't getting anywhere. And now I approach a landmark year in my life, and I kind of feel like I should have done more, because I've spent a lot of time, and partly due to grief, I think, a lot of years not moving forward and not believing in myself. And the special world for me, I've been living in it more often for the last few years because I'm believing in myself, and I hope I'm teaching my children to do that too. That's my take on it. And over to you, Mark, and yours.
Well, again, I think ordinary, special, we're talking almost like possibly present or past into the future projection, which can be, again, it can be a good thing, it can be a dangerous thing, because we don't want to predict too much. But I think what the foundation for this is where we're at now versus where we would potentially like to be, dream about being, or hope to be. And that depends, again, on the individual or the storyline that we're talking about. But the special world really, I suppose, represents that place or that situation where we are at our best, our most complete. And of course, that doesn't come as an easy step. We have to put ourselves through some kind of challenge. And this is again that word where we are prepared to take that step in order to move into a different sphere or a different situation. You know, we can look at films, which we tend to do. And one of the best ones, for sure, in this kind of analogy is Back to the Future, where, you know, we've got the family going through the same old rigmarole day in, day out, day in, day out. And the boy is looking at the father, who's a blimp, who's given in and who's just accepted that's his story, you know. When all along, all he had to do was punch Biff. And if he'd have punched Biff, his world would have changed. As we saw in the film, the projection happened, he punched Biff, and he eventually became a successful author. So this, again, paints the picture of if only, what if, changing doors or changing lanes or whatever the film's called, where, you know, a parallel universe.
Yes, sliding doors.
Exactly, that's
the yes.
And that film so cleverly encapsulates the situation. We've all been at school. We've all possibly been faced with potential bullying or potential challenge. And the question is, how many people have stood up and said, no, I'm not putting up with that. Boof, you know.
Yeah.
And then things can change for you. And it's not that I'm condoning punching someone in the face. I'm just saying that that is the step or the challenge that was presented in that particular scenario. So that could be the challenge. Are you going to stand up to the bully, or are you going to just accept it and look the other way? So that, I think, is the kind of shift we're talking about: putting up with it, accepting it, tolerating it, making the best out of it, in order to, or making that step that is going to make the difference, or you believe will make the difference. And again, with the great thing about this hero circle, well, not great, but the fact of the matter is, even if you punch Biff in the analogy, there might be another Biff coming along the road. It doesn't mean that's it forever, you know. No. It just means that you're on the ladder of progression.
Indeed. And metaphorically, we all have to go through that process, don't we, of bashing that Biff. I think we've used that in the past, bashing Biff. But it's a good analogy, because there are things that have happened in our past that we may not feel particularly happy about, but we have to go through a process and go through a journey in order to come to terms with it, in order for us to move on. And you can metaphorically bash that Biff of a memory into something, or reshape it, or try a different perspective or something, in order to change your outlook and change your future and change where you wish to head.
Yeah, indeed. So what are the things we're trying to set out to do in this particular series number 3, listener? It's exciting. 3. I can't believe we've gone through 3 series already.
Yeah.
2 and on to our 3rd. But is we thought it would be really cool to take you through this process on a weekly basis, so that you can maybe get some insights, or you can make some parallels with your own life and look at how, you know, you could start to compartmentalize things and put them into some form of analytical process that might help you with your creative or expressive process, or in general with your life. So this is our kind of aim. And today was really just to sort of introduce the idea to you as a backdrop to where we're going.
Indeed, that's where we're heading for this series. So I think any final thoughts? Are we? I think we've sort of explained everything that we want to do for this episode and to take us on that journey. And we will start next week with the first step, which will be revealed later.
Yeah, step by step, Zac.
Step by step.
Yeah, one step at a time. And so we hope that you're excited about this as we are. And we will be with you for step 1 of the hero's journey, the structure of the hero's journey, next week. So get your pieces of paper and your pen or your computer or just whatever it is you use to start to, shape it up.
Yeah.
And we very much look forward to carrying on with this with you next episode next week.
Marvelous. So thank you very much for watching. If you've watched us live, thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, we much appreciate it. And thank you for listening as ever on our podcasts and all our different platforms. We are very grateful to you all. Be sure to subscribe to us and like us as well. That certainly helps us like ourselves even more. So like us and go ahead to our Facebook page. And you can also head to TikTok, where we share short videos of us discussing various things as well. And we will see you next week. Every Friday, a new episode comes out. So next week for step 1 of the hero's journey.
So look forward to seeing you then. Take care.
Goodbye.
See you.